Hey, Frogprince Rana here, and thank you for dropping by. Well, knowing myself and how much rambling is to follow, let's start with the tweet itself. If you, as a woman or femme person, genuinely want to combat patriarchy, one of the easiest things you can do is make it safe for the men in your life to be vulnerable with you. This tweet was sent out from a now suspended account, Eldritchmother. I will keep the tweet on screen and let you come to your own conclusion while I ramble for a little while. I want to talk about one of my favorite, the founding father of Greek philosophy, Socrates, and his view on democracy. In Book 6 of the Republic, Plato describes Socrates falling into conversation with a character called Adeimantus and trying to get him to see the flaws of democracy by comparing a society to a ship. Socrates asked, if you're heading out on a journey by sea, who would you ideally want to deciding who was in charge of the vessel? Just anyone, or people educated in the rules and demands of seafaring? The latter, of course, Adeimantus replied. So why then, responds Socrates, do you keep that thinking that any old person should be fit to judge who should be a ruler of a country? The point Socrates was making that voting in an election is a skill, not a random intuition. And like any skill, it needs to be taught systematically to people. Letting the citizenry vote without an education is as irresponsible as putting them in charge of a trireme sailing to Samos in a storm. I should also point out that Socrates was not elitist in the normal sense. He didn't believe that a narrow few should ever vote. He did, however, insist that only those who had thought about issues rationally and deeply should be let near a vote. This may seem like a non sequitur so far, but it is really not. To start with, I'm in completely with agreement with Socrates. That is not hard. And I'm comparing that stand with our free speech society where everyone has something to say. In a lot of my videos, I debunk anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers and such. I don't expect people to be a doctor to have a point, but I also insist that only those who had thought about issues rationally and deeply should make a point. Of course, this also extends to all social media like Facebook, Twitter, and so on. As today's video is for a Twitter post, let's look at that platform. Here are some examples of what I get at my recommendation tab. Of course, I understand that this is based on my search and I'm not blaming the algorithm. The point I'm making that people post crap like this and attributes heart failure, autism and such to vaccination. Basically, the whole platform is filled with idiots with negative IQ. Thankfully, I haven't used Facebook for years, thus completely oblivious to the crap going on over there. To segue into our topic, I hope you had some time to think about the tweet in question. Did you find it offensive, morally wrong, apologist, or simply stating a simple fact that all decent persons should do? Full disclosure, I have no idea on Eldritchmother's post history due to the account being suspended. I have 2 videos in pipeline, one on gender pay gap and other is men's mental health. I guess that's the reason for me to get a notification on one of the replies, but I was a bit too late following it up. Before talking about my take, I would again like to talk about a seemingly unrelated topic. I'm an agnostic, but my ex, and especially her husband, is quite religious. So, a couple of years ago, my little one was talking about some of the boys she liked in her school. And the first thing I noticed was all the names were Muslim sounding. Knowing the school demography, I obviously asked her about it. My sweet piece reply was, her mom said she's only allowed to like Muslim people. My response was first by asking her if she likes or loves me. She said of course she does. That's when I broke the news to her that I don't believe in any god, including Allah. I explained to her with simple logic that her loving me proves that you can indeed like or love people who are not Muslim. Since then, I spoke to her a lot about all the sky daddies and generally have a laugh about it. Now, what is my point here? Well, when it comes to love life, one can obviously have a preference. I like blondes, so sue me. What if she is raised to have the opinion on race instead of religion? I'm a firm believer that children often picks up their thought process from their parents. If a kid is being racist, there is a very good chance that someone influencing them is a racist. Thus, to combat inequality, we should start at home. So, I take no offense to that tweet. I think it's simply stating the obvious, and something everyone should do, because we should all be decent people. Looking at all the replies, now it seems that I'm in the minority group, and all that jazz. Replies to this tweet is truly scary to say the least. Let's have a look at some of the replies. We have this gem from what is now a suspended account. If you as a woman or femme person genuinely want to combat patriarchy, one of the easiest things to do is to start redacted men for no reason. Well, obviously this is a completely crazy person, but 199 people liked this tweet. That does say something about us, right? The next one reminds me of one of my ex-relation. This is exactly what our mentality was. Men, you can be vulnerable to me. I love when people tell me things that they are afraid to tell others. It's super convenient for future occasions where I'll need to remind them of our little secret as leverage. Nice. That scared the bejesus out of me. One reply was kind of funny. Good thing I have a blackmail fetish. But seriously, if someone has this approach in life, I wonder if anyone says anything to them. The following one has my complete sympathy, though I don't agree with the stance. From Hazley Taylor we got, I let my close friend cry to me, be vulnerable around me, talk to me freely without feeling judged, and he redacted me while physically restraining me the moment he got chance. Now what? Followed by heart smiley emoji. One reply, Mamoru stand, makes the exact point I would make. My first girlfriend raped me, and I'm not treating women as a whole differently for it. Exactly. At times, people do us wrong. We all had their experience, and it is individuals that do it to us. I had things done to me by men, women, whites, blacks, browns, old, young. The list can go on. Now, one option obviously to play the ostrich, dig my head in sand, and refuse to interact with any other human beings. It wouldn't hurt the society, but would obviously harm me. So, who wins? No one. Who loses? Me. Unfortunately, Hazley Taylor is so engrossed in her hate, instead of addressing the point, she rattles on with how much hate and abuse she's getting. Well, that might be happening on a different thread, and not this one. Then she calls moids hateful and disgusting. I had to look up what moids means, as I'm certain that she didn't mean minimum orbital intersection distance. According to Urban Dictionary, it means mentally inadequate person. So isn't calling mentally inadequate disgusting is politically incorrect? Finally, she calls Momoru Stand a rape apologist. Just goes to show her headspace. User Searle writes, "Hell no! Men and boys need to stop abusing us first." And from Lex Jupiter, "You're expecting us to love people who don't even see us as human?" Again, stereotyping and generalizing. I can point out many instances where women abuses men and boys. Again, it doesn't mean all women do that. Similarly, there are abusive men and boys, but that is not equal to all. As I mentioned earlier, I have a video on pipeline tackling men's mental health. As it is an extremely heavy and taboo subject, it is taking a while. In the meantime, I would wholeheartedly recommend everyone to watch Red Pill, the documentary. It will show you the flip side of the coin and why our health also matters. Some more gems. Laura says, "No, if a man cries around me, I'm cutting his fingers off." Sissy That Patch added, "You are the weakest link, and I hope you and them all perish." If all men perishes, people do realize that humanity would soon end, right? Same thing if all women perishes. What a bunch of dummies. The whole debate is full with hate and resentment. Maybe we should look at some meaningful replies. Eric Generic writes, "Are Americans so rude that think not being an asshole to someone in a moment of vulnerability is fine as long they are the opposite gender? If someone needs help going through stuff, you help them regardless if they're a man, woman, non-binary, etc." Trenshaw says, "It's sad for me saying how many men are hurt because they can't express what they're going through rubs on me at times. Compassion important for the left to hold regarding the issue." Finally, Can Femicide explains the tweet to all the haters. The tweet basically just said, "Don't shame the men in your life for being emotionally vulnerable." And you somehow got, "It's women's fault, men can't be vulnerable." No one said that. Diversity of tactics as always. Well, aftermath. Eldritchmother, this account doesn't exist. Now it might be that she deleted the account herself, or enough people flagged her account to Twitter that it got removed. Either way, the point to take from all this is, do not talk about men's mental health. Ever. If you do, you're either a moid, promoting patriarchy, incel, hate woman, anti-feminist, and so on. Isn't life grand? I know this is a bit different than my usual content, but being a man, for many reasons, this is a topic that is important to me. Or maybe we all deserve to die. The sins of the fathers are to be laid upon the children, right? Well, that's all for today. If you find it worthy, please leave a like and even share it around. If you want to be super awesome, please consider subscribing and so on. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated and helpful for growth of my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.
We are one people, and we, like you, we are one tribe.